Hello, Internet. Happy New Year. I'm so happy everyone could join me. Casey Martin, nice to see ya. Let's see if we're live on all the platforms. Looks like we are streaming on YouTube, Rumble, and looks like we're also on X. All right, Scarlett wants to say hi. All right. We're going to make it quick tonight, okay? Okay, all right, go lay down. Good girl. All right, thanks everybody for joining me. I am so excited. It is episode 100 of CaliBased, and I have a very special guest, and it's late for her, so I'm very glad that she agreed to join us here at 6:30. I have Dr. Mary Talley Bowden, and I'm so glad that she agreed to join me because, I mean, she doesn't know, but I kind of tricked her into coming on here because she's an ear, nose, and throat doctor, and I have some particular questions for her. So without further ado, Doctor, thank you for joining us.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you so much. Before we get started, so I think it's awesome. You're a Stanford doctor. I've been a huge Stanford fan since I've been a kid, and I'm a Santa Cruz Mountains guy. And it's incredible the way the most renowned doctors from renowned schools, how they've been attacked because they went against the narrative. So if you don't mind, I'm sure everybody that's watching already knows who you are, but do you mind giving a brief background and sort of what started your whole journey?
So I'm ear, nose, and throat, and I'm in Houston, Texas. I'm a solo physician, and ear, nose, and throat doctors, we see a lot of respiratory stuff. I see tonsillitis. I just see the gamut of respiratory illnesses. So I started seeing COVID patients, and we had a saliva test, so it's non-invasive, and we were able to get the results back very quickly. Early on, it was really hard to get results back. So my little clinic just exploded, and I would tell people, go see your primary care doctor, and we know how that went. They said my primary care doctor won't see me. So initially, I just sort of, did breathing treatments and antibiotics and steroids, and then I started using monoclonal antibodies, and those worked great. I could get as many as I wanted. I could order them directly from the pharmaceutical company, have as many as I wanted the next day.
So let me pause you really quick. So you're not on with Dr. Drew right now. So can you tell really quick, what are monoclonal antibodies? Just really quick.
Oh yeah. So it's like I tell people, it's like an antibiotic that is very specific for the target. So an antibiotic will kill all sorts of things. A monoclonal antibody is very specific for the virus and for a certain type of virus. And they were given IV. So we could give them to them in the muscle, but most of the time we would give them IV.
But these were available really early on, correct?
I'm trying to think exactly when it was. I think it was the spring of 2000. It was before the vaccine came out, right? And people would turn around very quickly. They generally, within 24 hours, they would notice a big difference. And as long as they got them in the early phases, and that's a recurrent theme in medicine. Early treatment leads to better outcomes. It doesn't matter what you're treating, right? Well, it was very true with the monoclonal antibodies. We were seeing great success with them. I could get as many as I wanted. I could get them the next day, and then the government took over distribution, and it became harder and harder to get them. So I started.
That was still before the vaccine, when the government started cracking down?
They shut them down right when the vaccine was mandated.
Oh, how weird.
Coincidentally, right when the mandates came out, the monoclonal antibodies disappeared. And so that's when I started looking at ivermectin, and I was worried because I knew monoclonal antibodies worked so well, and I wasn't sure ivermectin was going to live up to the hype. First, I made sure that they were really safe, and then once I was assured that I wasn't going to hurt anybody, and then I started using them, and I realized that they do work. And so I've now treated over 6,000 people, and everybody that's gotten early treatment is alive and well. Well, one of the things, so in Houston, Houston Methodist Hospital was the first hospital in the country to mandate the shots, and they did that in June of 2021. It was 3 months before Biden, so they were really leading the way. And I had privileges there. I wasn't using them. I do outpatient surgery. I just have privileges there. I had them there just as a backup in case something went wrong. But I never stepped foot in that hospital. I was not a revenue stream for them. I wasn't part of their crew. I just had these.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I wasn't on their payroll. There was, but I was actually collaborating with them. I was doing research I was sharing my data with them, and we were trying to get data published. So we had a good relationship. They didn't think I was dangerous at that time. And I remember in July of that, after the vaccines rolled out, because I was doing a lot of testing, I was able to track who was vaccinated and who wasn't. And so I started noticing all the breakthrough cases. And I emailed them and said, are you seeing what I'm seeing? What's going on? I thought the vaccine was supposed to...
Breakthrough cases.
Right.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on really quick. Why was the term breakthrough cases ever used when the vaccine was clearly never meant to stop transmission? That's what everybody's saying now.
Right. Yeah. In retrospect, it was a misnomer to even use that term. But, we are also calling it a vaccine. It's not a vaccine. So
you're triggering me. You are triggering me, Doc. That was the thing with me and my doctor, me and my primary care physician. Actually, I think this is why you started following me. It was a write-up that I wrote about how I needed a referral to my knee specialist because I had a torn meniscus. Do you remember this?
How I found out about you is Michael. You know who Michael Berry is?
Yeah, Michael Berry
read one of your tweets.
Wait, hold on. Are you talking about Michael Berry of The Big Short? Like
no. The radio. Okay. He's a syndicated AM radio host.
Oh, okay.
He's in Houston, but he's nationwide in the evenings.
Oh, okay.
But that's how I found out about you, because I heard him read aloud one of your long tweets, and I was like, wow, that was really deep. And then that's how I...
Oh, okay. Well, I wrote one about my doctor, about my primary care physician, and I said that to him. I said, hey, is it really... I was like, since it doesn't stop transmission, and they just changed the definition of vaccine, I was like, is it really a vaccine? And his response to me was, you got to be careful with what conspiracy theories you read online. That was his response to me.
Right. No, I know. That's called gaslighting.
Okay, sorry, derailed you for a little bit there. So you're using alternative treatments. You go on to ivermectin, and then what happens after the ivermectin stuff?
And so it was the fall of 2021. I started speaking out on Twitter. Same thing. I was very conservative compared to what I say now, but I said things like ivermectin works. And then on this one particular day, I tweeted out 25 times in one day, vaccine mandates are wrong. And then I put a screenshot from a patient testimonial, and 5 days later, Methodists went after me. I got a text message from
that's such a mild thing to say.
Well, yeah, but back then, it seems very tame now. But I remember we couldn't even say ivermectin on Twitter. You couldn't say it. You had to use some sort of abbreviation.
Well, what's funny is this is what brought me back to Twitter. I took a break. I got off of Twitter before COVID started, and then when I was all kumbaya in the beginning of COVID too. I was like, we just got to get through this, guys. We're all in this together. And then when I was like, wait a minute, hold on. They had a lab in Wuhan, and that's when it all went. Anyway, so okay, continue. Ivermectin. They started. You put out the tweets. The most mild tweets on earth, and they railroaded you.
Yes, they blindsided me. They suspended my privileges, and I found out from a text message from a reporter. That's how I found out my privileges were suspended. So they went straight to the media. Then they went on Twitter and announced it to everybody and said I was spreading dangerous misinformation. Then they reported me to the medical board. It just, I'm still dealing with that.
You know about the law they passed in California, right? About how doctors can't, they couldn't say anything against the vaccine, or they could go after their license.
I don't know how you're surviving out there. That's like communist territory.
Fighting the good fight, Doc.
Yes. Very impressive. I feel like I'm in enemy territory in Houston. I don't know how you do it there.
Well, you're much more high profile than me, and it's funny. Tucker Carlson said something a few days ago. You know how people talk about FU money,
Yeah,
like
right.
FU money. He's like, there's no such thing as FU money. You can't get, because then they have something they can take from you. He's like, there's only FU poverty. And I thought about it, like, he's kind of right.
Nothing.
I got nothing to lose here.
That's how I felt. That's how I came to terms with my reputation. I'm like, I have an FU reputation. At this point, they can't say, it's done. I mean, I guess they could, I don't know, but I felt like once you get past that hurdle of them just canceling you, and once you just let go of it, it's like, who cares anymore, right? There's no reason not to just say whatever you want.
Yeah, so not only are you so much stronger now, you're activated. Like you remember,
Right.
like you're saying, you put out 25 times in a day. Like you were probably really concerned about putting those tweets out too. Like vaccine mandates are bad.
Right.
Like such a mild thing to say. And now, oh, you go hard now. Like, look what you've done. Look what you've started. This is amazing. So you guys that don't know, Doctor here has gotten. How many people you got now? How many?
We have 91, and we started with 2 about 6 weeks ago. It was very exciting.
And so really quick, tell the audience, like, what did we all sort of agree to? And I want to get into you and Vivek today, because that threw a monkey wrench into everything. But I want to, so what is our sort of oath that we took?
All you have, it's very simple, that the COVID shots must be pulled off the market, and just keep it simple. And you're just willing to state that in writing publicly so that we have the receipts when you try to go back on that later. But that's all it is basically publicly stating that. And I feel like if we can get enough people behind it, it just sends a very strong message to Congress. And, the government got us in this mess. It's the government's job to get us out of this mess. And I don't like politics mixing with healthcare, but we have no choice at this point.
So I think that's what Vivek's beef was today. So can we talk a little bit about that today? Because you tried to get him to sign it, right?
Yeah, well, I didn't see anything updated today. You mean the tweet I put out?
Yeah, because didn't you ask Vivek if he would like to basically be part of this, to say that the vaccine should be pulled off the market? And he kind of said no. And tell me if I got this wrong, and I'm totally paraphrasing Vivek here, but I got the impression that he was saying no. I'm not going to give them to my kids. I think they're bad. I don't think they should be given out, but I also don't think they should be pulled off the market because of free market, this and that type stuff. Is that?
Yeah. Yeah, that response was a little while ago, but yes, I retweeted that today just to make a point, because if you're in government and you're saying that you're not going to give it to your kids, you're basically going against the CDC's guidelines, right? And that's a big deal. Like if you're it's fine if you're just some person on the street. But if you are in government and you're saying, no, I do not agree with the CDC's recommendations, I'm not going to follow the CDC's recommendations for my own children, then you should, that's a clear message that needs to be sent to your constituents and the people their duty is to protect us, right? And they're not protecting us. They're hiding, they're taking the easy way out. They're being quiet about it. The uptake in the general population is 15% now. That they're not giving these shots to their kids, all these people in Congress. So why aren't they saying anything? It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, we're not talking about, the regular vaccine schedule. We're talking about this special circumstance. And we all know people that have had issues with it. We know that it doesn't work. We know that we have early treatment available. And there's so many examples out there where other products have been pulled for much fewer issues related to that product. And it's just all this is big pharma, and our government is kowtowing to big pharma and not listening and not protecting their constituents. And it's awful.
Yeah, I mean, it's the level of collusion between big pharma, the media, and government was sort of sort of terrifying the way that, especially with all the Twitter file stuff that came out, with how much information was suppressed from the public. So I do want to ask from a doctor's standpoint, I mean, this really, I don't see how it could be argued that people that they did actually have informed consent with.
Oh, yeah. No,
So,
I don't know a single person that had a discussion of the risks versus benefits with these shots. I mean, half of them were just jabbed in their cars by, who knows who was doing it with, just no, there was no informed consent. But this even goes beyond informed consent because it doesn't work. It's not effective and it's not safe. So, I mean, I don't understand. It's just completely pointless.
So back to sort of what got you into this whole mess, the early on treatments, the alternative treatments to the vaccine. So, you talk about how they started suppressing the monoclonal antibodies, and then there was the coordinated campaign against ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine and all of this stuff. Is it fair to just say, well, yeah, they obviously had to do that because it clearly states that it can't have an emergency use authorization if there's other treatments?
Exactly. That's one of the requirements, is that there cannot be any alternative effective treatment.
So like all of this stuff was out there. All of this information was out there, and people that went looking for it found it. But there's 80% of California, I think it was 81% of Californians took at least one dose of this thing. And that,
I think 80% of Americans, right?
Is it?
Yeah, sure. It's not just California.
It boggles my mind. It truly boggles my mind. And there's the different degrees of people that took it. There's the people that, I won't name her name, but I'm an ultra marathon runner, and so I know ultra healthy people, like the healthiest of the healthy. And one of the craziest ultra runners that I know, this chick the stuff she does is like unfathomable to me. And I do crazy stuff. She put out a video where she was crying. We finally got it. We're finally through this. And then there's the people that got it tattooed on their arms, so there's the people that are all gung-ho. That's where it should have ended. It's like, okay, we're past it. Like, that's where all of this should have ended. Everybody that wanted it. And then there's the people that were like, crap, I want to go to the bar. Oh, crap, I want to go to a baseball game, and they're the ones that got coerced into taking it. And that's when it went from, this is sinister now.
Right. Coercion is not consent. It's not.
Why'd they do it? All right. So I was going to ask this question at the very end, but it's sort of like the perfect time to ask it. So on a scale of Neil deGrasse Tyson to Alex Jones, how much of a conspiracy theorist are you now?
I would not call it. I don't like that name. I'm just.
Yeah, me neither. But it's what everybody. Have you been called that name?
Maybe I'm not. I'd probably on a 9 out of 10 if you had to. I don't know. I don't think I'm quite to Alex Jones, but maybe.
But were you called a conspiracy theorist?
Oh yes, right wing. Oh, the Harris County judge, which is kind of like Harris County is Texas' biggest county. It's the 4th largest county in the country. So the Harris County judge is kind of like the mayor. On Twitter, she called me a right-wing conspiracy theorist.
And you're a Stanford trained doctor.
Correct. Yes. I was trained by the communists.
Oh, that's something else I would love to talk to you about, just what the whole Stanford experience was like. Because it's such a beautiful campus. And that's where I worked. I worked all over Woodside, Los Altos Hills, Portola Valley. Like, those are the people that I worked for. So I like...
But yeah, well, it's interesting because I did 2 years in Galveston, Texas. So I started off at UTMB, and then I did 3 years at Stanford, and the experiences were completely different. UTMB has the largest prison hospital in the state of Texas, and they would bus people in from all over the state. And the prisoners I looked like I was 14 years old back then, and they didn't care that this, young girl who looked like, she was in high school was operating on them. They let me just I mean, the very first day on the job, I went in the minor operating room and removed lipomas from prisoners all day with no supervision. It was very hands-on. Just, you saw a lot of disease, a lot of pathology. And then Stanford was total opposite. It was very high-end, hands-off. It was high-tech, but the hands-on experience wasn't there like it was at UTMB. It was just completely different.
Well, I imagine the whole mentality is a little different out there too. This is, I think you said you graduated 2003. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Well, things have changed a lot since then. I was at San Jose City College when you were at Stanford. So.
No.
All right. There's so many other things I wanted to talk to you about. Just really, I mean, there's the whole, well, let's talk about the misinformation thing. You were attacked for spreading misinformation. You're a doctor. You're a doctor having conversations with your patients. Hey, this is a novel virus and a brand new vaccine. We're all shooting from the hip here, right? How could they possibly?
And I was open-minded at first. I mean, I didn't get the shot. I wasn't giving it to my patients.
So you never got it? I was going to ask that. You never took it?
No, I didn't. And I almost did, actually. Because my theory was, okay, I don't know if this thing is going to work, but I couldn't see that they were going to, I didn't think it was going to hurt me, right? I just thought, well, I don't know that this is going to work, but I have reservations, but I just couldn't conceive that something like this would happen, which did happen. But so I almost got it, and I actually, I went to the pharmacy. I stood in line. I got impatient because it was taking too long, and I left. And then I decided I'm not going to. And then the more I saw, the more I learned. I said I'm just not going to do that.
Thank God that line was long.
I know. Thank God I'm not very patient.
Unreal. That's crazy.
I know. Because the mandate, Methodist was mandating it, and I just said, well, let's just, I'll be fine. It may not work, but it's not going to hurt me. That was my thinking. I think that's what a lot of people, I trusted. I was like, I had trust. But anyway, I mean, I was open-minded, and I was skeptical too. I mean, I didn't jump into ivermectin with both feet without some concerns, or, I really dug into the safety part, and then I started using it, and I was very nervous about using it because I didn't think it was going to work. And then, but seeing it all firsthand, and I've seen so much. I've just seen so much.
So weren't they going after doctors for prescribing ivermectin as well?
Oh yeah, I've gotten complaints. I've had 2 complaints to the medical board over ivermectin. One of them is still ongoing.
And what is that? So what does that mean? What does a complaint to the medical board look like?
Well, I have to get a lawyer involved. I have to have a hearing. And I've had 2 of those hearings. I've got 2 more to go. It's just, it's a cloud of stress, and they can, one of them was completely dismissed. One of them, they offered me a plea bargain basically, and I told them no. And so that's going forward to like a higher level hearing, an administrative hearing, they call it. And then I've got one more ivermectin case that we haven't had the first hearing yet. So I'm waiting on that. So, I mean, basically one of the hearings, they said it could all go away if I paid them $5,000 and took 8 hours of additional continuing medical education and retook the jurisprudence exam, which is a legal exam that all doctors have to take, which I've already taken. So all I had to do was that, and I mean, I could have done that, but I just, for the principle of it, I was like, no, I haven't done anything wrong, and this is a witch hunt. It's a political witch hunt. It's nothing to do with patient safety. No one's been harmed. This is me fighting for patients, and they're going after me. Yeah, it's hospitals coming after me, right?
It's not the medical board. It's not the state.
And the other one is a pharmacist coming after me. It's not patients coming after me.
This is insane. It's insane. It's this authoritarian thing that happened to people. They just want you to bend the knee. It's not about, It's funny because I mean, you telling your story is just like, holy crap, our stories are so similar. Because after my whole mask thing happened, I got called into the office the next day, and it was like, you're not fired, but you got to come in and we're going to talk about it. And that was the thing they were just going to write me up. And they're like, but you got to be willing to comply with company policies moving forward. And I was like, well, I'm not going to wear the mask. And they were like, okay, well, we have to separate that. And I was like, well, I'm not quitting either. So, and then, yeah, it's just like, they just want you to bend the knee. The company I worked for was a conservative company. Like, I was talking to two conservatives that I got fired with. They thought all this stuff was BS too, but it was just, this is Silicon Valley, and our clients were like high-level tech executive people for that. So it was like a very delicate line that we had to walk. We were like, all of us, it was more than half our company was unvaccinated. And there was clients that wouldn't allow us in our homes. There's multiple clients that wouldn't allow us in their homes. I was working in San Francisco all the time. If I went to Mel's Diner in San Francisco, I wasn't allowed to eat inside.
Yeah.
Same thing with this one taqueria that I loved. All of a sudden, I wasn't allowed to eat inside anymore. And it was just this, like, I couldn't believe what was happening. I would go up to the counter and they asked me for my vaccine card, my proof of vaccination to order a burrito. I'm a burrito, doc.
That happened to me skiing. Like, I went skiing that Christmas, and I remember I couldn't eat inside the ski lodge because without showing a vaccine card. I mean, it's insane.
The discrimination aspect of this is so downplayed. It's not even the right word, because if you say, hey, I was discriminated against, shut up, you complainer. Like, it's always that kind of thing. And you're like, no, I'm trying to point out things that we said that we're never going to do again, that we all sort of agreed that people shouldn't be discriminated against based on, skin color, choice of sexual orientation, religion, and what they decide to inject into their bodies. Like,
or what they coerced to inject in their bodies.
Yes.
It's not even a decision from most people. It was a coercion.
So one of the levels of coercions was the trickery. So I talked about those people that were so scared and, cried when they got the tattoos, their vax card and all that. Well, even that was coercion, because everybody that took this thing initially, everyone that took it was like, oh, I'm taking this and I'm not going to get COVID after I take it. And now there is seriously a troll bot initiative going on Twitter trying to rewrite history and say that they never said that it would stop transmission. And they're like pulling up all this data and stuff, like saying, oh, well, that was actually for this variant, and like trying to do this whole timeline statistical crap. And it's like, no, look at the most authoritative figures in the world. Albert Bourla, Joe Biden, Rachel Maddow, Dr. Fauci. I mean, that's the head of the CDC.
Michelle Walensky.
Yeah, all these people, that's five. The five most authoritative figures, probably. Head of the WHO, Fauci, all the most authoritative figures, all straight up said, like with no nuance at all, straight up said, if you take this, you're not going to get it. You're not going to spread it. And now they're trying, and people are believing it. People are like, oh, it was never meant to stop. There's this, you probably know Dr. Peter McCullough. You probably hung out with him and stuff, right?
Yeah,
the whole mass formation psychosis thing is, I was talking about this before he coined that phrase. I wasn't using mass formation, but I was like, there is this massive like cognitive dissonance thing going on where so many people took it where they didn't originally want to take it. Now they have to like reinforce it in their minds that I took it for a good reason. It's actually keeping me safe. And yeah, sorry. I knew this conversation was going to trigger me.
So are you suing? So what happened with your employer? Are you suing them, or did you just have that?
My lawyer shook them down for some money. That's
did you get
that
work?
I didn't get a lot. I mean, it's gone already. It's been gone for a while, but I can't get work. Like, I legitimately can't get work. It's the same exact thing happens every time, and it's demoralizing. I was an AV guy for 18 years. I have a pretty impressive resume. I worked for really high-end clients. Like, I never had to go search for a job. I was always recruited and offered more money, and I would go to that company. Now, all of a sudden, I apply at places, I get the interview, everything goes great, like stellar, everything goes great. And then I'm ghosted. Never hear from them again.
They Google,
every time.
Do they Google you? Is that, I mean, I don't think I could get a job. I don't think there's any way I'd get a job.
Now that I've decided to run for state senate and that's on there too, there's no way. It's like I'm untouchable now. I'm like people I worked for in Silicon Valley. Right. So this is my thing now. This is my new gig. Well, now I'm talking with people like you. I have no business talking with people like you. It's awesome. So,
well, I didn't think I'd be talking to a future state senator either. That was not the plan.
I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason. And this thing that you're doing, match it. Like this is helping me. I don't have a budget. I don't have a campaign manager. I have nothing. I'm a one-man show here. So what you're doing is immensely helping me and other people that are running in California as well. You know,
well, I hope, I mean, wouldn't that be cool if we could use social media to get people elected rather than all these PACs and lobbyists and all this money that gets thrown in these races? When, I mean, people just want to know, you just got to get your message out there, right?
And this is not 2020.
Right. It'd be interesting just to see how this shakes out with a minimal budget.
Yeah, I'm super interested in it. We're still early on, so I mean, people might donate to the campaign, and I might have money to compete with some people. But the fact now that, I mean, the Department of Justice can't just send an email to Twitter saying, "Hey, kick this person off the internet" or suppress them. Yeah. This really is a whole new world now with Twitter. It's really a game changer, and you see how they're freaking out. They're panicking.
Yes.
Like they could.
They're so mad. They are enraged, and I love it. They're so mad.
The importance of them to control the narrative. Like, I keep coming back to the specific thing that they said that they went after you for was spreading dangerous misinformation. And people died because of the misinformation that they spread about the vaccine. People died. Yeah. Actually, I want to talk to you about this. This is something I didn't even write down. So I was dating a respiratory therapist in the first wave, and she told me horror stories. Is it true that a lot of, well, I don't know if you can even verify if it's true, but it sounds like a lot of the early actual COVID deaths were because people were put on respirators way too soon.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have learned so much. Prior to the pandemic, I was in that mindset where, okay, somebody comes in with an oxygen level of under 90%, and that is an emergency situation. Well, what we found out during the pandemic is that people could tolerate these low oxygen levels much more than we previously thought. And it's called happy hypoxia. So, their numbers look horrible, but clinically, they don't look that bad. But, in the old days, somebody walks in with an oxygen level of under 90% and they are, sent to the ICU immediately. And then, they're considering intubating. But I had patients who would not go to the hospital because they were were worried about getting intubated. I had a guy walk into my office with an oxygen level of 68%. Refused to go to the hospital, and like I said, under normal circumstances, I would have called an ambulance and had him whisked away, but he was not going to do it, and he survived. And I mean, we just brought him in. I didn't have a hospital.
What'd you do?
We did IV high dose steroids, IV antibiotics, high dose IV vitamin C. We sent him home on high dose ivermectin. Sent him home on oxygen at night, and he would come in every day. And then, I mean, I had a few like that. He was my lowest, but I had a few like that would not go to the hospital that normally would have. And it just taught me a lot. I mean, also prior to the pandemic, never, I thought you can't do anything for a virus, let it run its course. Well, that's not true either. There's a lot we can do for viruses. And then, the importance of early treatment. I mean, early treatment leads to better outcomes. It doesn't matter what you're talking about in medicine. That's the whole premise behind preventative medicine is you pick up things early, you prevent them from happening. The earlier, the better. And for some reason, that was thrown out the door with the pandemic. I don't know what was. Some reason it was just, no, let's just do nothing until you're about to die. And obviously that did not go very well.
And we laugh because of how ridiculous it is. But I mean, people really died. People died because of these calls that they made. The early treatment thing that you're talking about, suppressing early treatment in favor of this vaccine that lined everybody's pockets, that killed people. There's people that would have survived if they got effective treatment. If doctors were allowed to do the doctor thing that you did, where you're like, hey, I got this patient. His oxygen levels, would you say it's like 63?
68.
You're like, okay, I'm going to start throwing this at it. And you started doing troubleshooting. Like, Isn't that, I watched House. Okay.
Yeah.
Right?
No, but I mean, you a lot of it's just common sense but I was following like FLCC protocol. That was very instrumental. That gave me,
what's that?
Frontline critical care.
Dr. Pierre Corey. Yeah.
Yes, Dr. Merrick. So I was basically applying their hospital protocol to my patients in the clinic when they were really bad.
Is that so? Joe Rogan did that video where he took. So tell me if I'm wrong here, but I think he took monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin, zinc, azithromycin, and I think hydroxychloroquine as well. Like they put together a whole kit for him, and that was that Dr. Pierre Corey's thing.
Well, Dr. Pierre Corey was more the ivermectin guy. And then there were other doctors that proposed the hydroxychloroquine and the azithromycin combination. Like Dr. Zelenko was the first to really propose that. I started off just using ivermectin, and then I combined it when the Delta wave came, or when it came more serious, and I combined all three. Just because by itself, ivermectin, the efficacy is about 60%. By itself, hydroxychloroquine, the efficacy is about 60%. So you combine them all three of them with the azithromycin, you just get a compounded effect.
That's
and
a great book,
most patients are able to tolerate that. It's unlike Paxlovid, those drugs are very well tolerated. Paxlovid, if you'll allow me to get on my bandwagon about that drug.
Please.
It has 44 severe drug interactions. It contains an HIV drug with a black box warning on it. It's toxic to the liver and kidneys.
Wait, so that was real? The HIV thing was real?
Yes. I don't know why this just gets glossed over.
Look at I'm a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist, and I didn't know that was real.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's glossed over for some reason.
Jeez.
And one of the drugs that it interacts with is statins, which is the most widely prescribed drug out there. So they also gloss over that. It's toxic to the liver and kidneys. It's poorly tolerated because it leaves a metallic taste in the mouth. Has about a 20% incidence of rebound infection.
Isn't that
and it
blood
costs
poisoning?
$530. What'd you say?
Isn't the metallic taste in your mouth like a sign of blood poisoning?
I haven't dug into it that deeply, but it's generally not a good sign.
I think I saw that on CSI once. Okay, so
something to it.
Keep going with Paxlovid, because this was like Dr. Fauci was Paxlovid. Like it was okay. So keep going with the Paxlovid.
Well, yeah. So I mean, that's plenty. I mean, so 44 drug reactions, HIV drug with black box warning, toxic to the liver and kidneys, leaves a metallic taste in the mouth, 20% incidence of rebound infection, and costs $530.
$530 per dose?
Per course of treatment, 5-day
gotcha.
treatment. But that's the taxpayers because it was free for everybody.
Right. And this other, like all the stuff that we listed, the azithromycin, the ivermectin, all the stuff, the whole kit, that was probably like what, $10?
Well, ivermectin, because it became the forbidden drug, became very expensive. So
I got some. I freaking.
How much was it? Was it?
My buddy I didn't pay for it. My buddy gave it to me. This is just another thing that was just so weird because it was during the time of not being able to eat in restaurants. He gave me ivermectin in an Altoids can. So I'm like, am I doing a weed deal in 8th grade? Like, what is happening right now? It was just.
That's how, yeah. I mean, people would sneak the ivermectin. Like, I had a friend of mine's, she snuck ivermectin into a Band-Aid box into her brother that was in the hospital. And she had to sneak it in. He was on the verge of going to ICU and took the ivermectin and went home the next day.
So why did ivermectin work? So that was one of the big arguments. It's like, it's an antiviral. Or, I mean, it was an antiparasitic. This is a virus.
It has 20 mechanisms of action. So it doesn't just, just like antibiotics don't kill one bug, don't do one thing. They have other mechanisms of action. Azithromycin, Z-Pak, that actually has anti-inflammatory properties too, which is why a lot of people with viruses actually respond to Z-Paks, because it's not just the antibacterial properties. So ivermectin has 20 mechanisms of action. It goes beyond just killing parasites, and it's safe. It under normal circumstances, it's very affordable. It's been given out to 4 billion people worldwide. The person who discovered it won a Nobel Prize in science, right? I mean, it's time tested.
Well, it's truly like a miracle drug, right? Like it was found in soil in Japan, right on next to a golf course. Yeah,
I didn't know that happened, but yeah.
And so way over here, it's discovered, and then way over here in Africa, it cures river blindness. Like, that's a Goosebumps story to me.
Yeah,
like, that's amazing. Wow. That's medicine, Like, and then they suppress it. It's just unbelievable. Like, okay. Just the ivermectin thing to me was there were so many, like, you can't call them wake up calls because there were so many. It was more just like use the word compounded. There's so many compounding things that happened where it was like, is this on purpose? Is everything on purpose that they're doing? Because so we seem to be in agreement that all of the early treatments were suppressed in favor of promoting the vaccine because they couldn't get emergency use authorization without it.
Right.
So we seem to be in agreement there. Okay. So why did they need everybody to take it so bad?
The shot?
Yeah.
It's too much money. Well, I know there's layers of this, right? But step one, the most obvious one, is the money. Right? I mean, to me, I call it the too big to fail, right? They just poured so much into it. There's so much invested in it, plus the ego invested in it, right? Operation Warp Speed. We're going to save the world. And, I am voting Republican, but I have not forgiven Trump. Okay. And I will vote for him if that is my only option. But he needs to own up to that.
Oh, he still talks about how they're the greatest thing. There's so many things that, I'm voting for Trump as well, but there's tons of things that I criticize him heavily on. And that's probably the biggest one, and him letting Fauci just run roughshod. It's that. And, he didn't pardon Assange, didn't pardon Snowden. The ongoing war in Yemen wasn't a great thing. This is a whole bunch of things that he did, but the fact that the deep state, just everybody's going after him so hard. It's just, they already broke it. Anyway, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but why? Okay, the money thing. Yeah, I get it. But even after, it seems so extra. It seemed even more than that. Just, it really seemed sinister. I talked about this earlier with one of the guys that's running for Congress. Actually, he should be on your list. I hope he is on your list. Daniel Martinez. I hope he's on your list. He's running out here in California.
Oh, you need to recruit him.
Okay, yeah, another person. Well, I'm doing a spaces with him after this. So, geez, I lost it. Was he? Geez. I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
We were talking about Trump, and you said deep state.
Yeah.
It goes beyond the money, beyond the ego.
Yeah. It was. Why did I bring up Daniel? Like, oh, geez, I had it for a second there. I was talking to Daniel earlier about how there was like two different realities that people lived in, like the people that didn't take the vaccine versus the people that did take the vaccine, especially here in California with the level of propaganda that was going on. So I talk about like the mass formation, cognitive dissonance thing, to where there's people that took it that needed to convince themselves that it was a good idea that they took it. Because that thought of, hey, I might have put something in my body that's running around in me and I don't know what it's doing. That's a terrifying thought. So a lot of people needed to do like this psychological thing to convince themselves that it was a good idea. So they didn't even notice the freeway signs that they drive by that are saying, take your next booster. They didn't even notice the donuts for jabs, the joints for jabs. They were giving away joints out here to take the shot. Gavin Newsom put on a lottery. Like, it was two different realities that we lived in. There was the people that didn't take the shot and were just like, holy crap, the propaganda is everywhere. I can't eat in restaurants. They're trying to fire me. And then there's the other people that are like, just put on the mask.
Right.
It's how do we bridge this divide? Because it really is like there's people that are living in different realities out there.
I think I think the Chinese did this on purpose. Like, how 9/11 brought the country together. This divided our country. And that
unless you're brown.
What'd you say?
Unless you were brown.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Everybody, that if you even looked Muslim, like there was a time back during 9/11, you were around here during that time too. So remember.
Yeah, I was in residency when that happened. Yeah.
Yes, like even the Sikh, like and if you wore a headdress of any kind, like the Sikh, they don't exactly even get along with Muslims, I don't think, but they would get attacked. If you even looked like you're from that region, it was bad. It was the common enemy thing. So it wasn't different. So the country came together, but it was because there was a common enemy. Well, the country came together again. It was just against us. Right. We were the brown people.
Right.
Like, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Well, and actually, it's the perfect analogy because then look at who the Patriot Act got aimed at.
Right. Right. Well, it's the enemy within. I mean, we're turning on our own, right? And that is genius. That's a genius tactic, right? Turning on your own, creating a civil war, basically. Self-destruction. They didn't have to do anything. They don't have to sacrifice any of their own, other than they don't really care about their own, obviously. But it's just. I just think it was on purpose, and I think it was an ingenious way to do it, and
I could see yourself even being hesitant saying these words, because it's like if you go back like 3-4 years, 4 or 5 years, this is unfathomable. Right. Everything that happened, the idea that I keep coming back to the Twitter files thing, the idea that put all the COVID stuff aside, but that the Department of Justice, FBI, CIA, whoever would directly communicate with big tech corporations to tell private citizens with 170 followers to get kicked off the internet.
Mm-hmm.
What? Like, what's happening with the air marshals right now, right?
No.
This is insane. So it's in the same vein. That's why I'm bringing it up. So you know how we used to have air marshals on flights, right?
Right.
Like especially after 9/11, we'd have a guy with a gun that would keep us all safe. Yeah, we don't have those anymore. You know why? They're all following J6ers around. Like really? Legitimately assigned to January 6thers. And if you get on a flight, they're following you there. They're following you through the airport. They're not protecting us on flights now. They're only following around January 6ers. Taylor Hanson just broke this.
Wow.
It's like the coordination of controlling the narrative, and like what you said, they go after you for spreading misinformation while at the same time, they are the number one purveyors of spreading misinformation, and their misinformation legitimately killed people. Your actual information saved people. You saved people's lives.
Yeah.
That dude was 68 oxygen. Man, you saved his life. How's that? That's going to be a cool feeling.
Yeah, but, I didn't do anything that any other doctor couldn't have done. I mean, it was nothing, I wasn't, inserting or removing a brain tumor. It was something that any doctor could have done. It's very frustrating, right? So I don't credit myself too much. It's more, what the hell were the other doctors, thinking? Why were they not doing anything?
My doctor was a dirtbag.
Yeah.
So I don't get it. So you're an ear, nose, and throat doctor, but you're also a primary care physician? Like you have your own primary care practice? Is that?
No, I'm ear, nose, and throat. I'm a solo physician. I'm by myself. But I sort of became the next best thing to a primary care doctor because most primary care doctors wouldn't even see patients. They would shut their doors, or if they agreed to do a telemedicine, they wouldn't give them, they weren't prescribing anything of substance to these people. So I became a primary care doctor.
So you wouldn't believe my medical history. So I won't even spend too much time on it, but I've had two major ear, nose, and throat incidences. I had to have 2.5 of my parathyroid glands removed. That's ear, nose, and throat.
That's interesting.
I was getting kidney stones like crazy. And so that happened. And then it might've been like 10 years later, like 6 or 7 years later, I got I'm probably going to say it wrong, thyroglostic duct cyst.
Oh, wow. You are very interesting. Yes.
But it's back.
Oh, yeah. I hope they did they're supposed to do a cyst trunk procedure where they take out part of the hyoid bone. Did they do that?
They did. I remember her saying that.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that, then the odds of a recurrence are higher.
You know how I knew that it was back? It was last Thanksgiving. I was eating at my best friend's house, and his wife's all, "Why do you do that when you swallow?" I was like, "What?" She's all, "You turn your head to the side." I was like, "Huh?" Oh. And yeah, and I remember it hurts when I swallow sometimes, and I can feel that it's back, and now I don't know what to do. And this is another thing with medical coverage being tied to your employment. I don't have medical coverage anymore, so it's I don't know what to do. So, and it's starting to worry me because when I'm on really long runs, it's starting to feel like I can't breathe as well.
Yeah. Well, did you go to Stanford for the other procedures?
No, it was Kaiser. Actually, no, that was no, the thyroglostic, whatever it's called, the cyst thing. That was like Anthem Blue Shield or something. But that doctor was fantastic. She was great. I don't even remember who she was.
But it wasn't a Stanford. You didn't go to Stanford.
I should have.
No, I'm just curious if I knew your surgeon or.
I had to get a knee surgery during all this COVID stuff, and I was terrified that they were going to vaccinate me when I was unconscious. That's how far this stuff got. No,
I know. I think that's a valid concern.
There was you never heard of anything like that happening, right?
No, I remember hearing people, third hand, there was discussions on like that going on, but I never heard anything like that firsthand.
All right. So this is like the last sort of subject thing that I'll get into, but because I'm very curious. It sounds like BS to me. This sounds like actual conspiracy theory stuff, but I want a doctor's take on it. I want your take on it because it sounds like hogwash. Are they vaccinating the beef?
Yeah, I haven't dug into the food issue, but it wouldn't surprise me, but I don't know. I can't give you a good answer. I haven't dug into it, but
I don't get how even ingesting it would work, but okay, I'm not a scientist, so
yeah. I mean, it's not inconceivable, and it's worrisome, but I can't give you a definite on that.
Okay, so same vein, blood. When people need a blood donor, unvaccinated blood, are they separating Like, do you know about that? Like,
I know there's efforts, and it may have already gotten underway to make sure that, and I don't know if they're, because I'm not in the hospital, so I know that there are people working on that if it has not already happened.
See, that terrifies me. Yeah. See, I am full Alex Jones now. I was way closer to Neil deGrasse Tyson before COVID
you can bank your own blood.
Can I?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I don't even know my blood type. I think I'm type O positive, but I can't remember. Yeah. All right. Well, that's pretty much all I got. Actually, there was a funny one I think I wanted to ask you about, but I'll leave it.
I want to hear, who are you running against?
John Laird.
Is he a threat, or are you gonna be able to take him down?
Well, I mean, I'm up against the machine, as you know. I think you should ask him if I'm a threat. And I think I am, because I'm getting weird attacks now. Like, the bot attacks are crazy against my account now. But Laird he votes like with Scott Wiener on everything. Like the stuff that he's voted on is disgusting. Like, disgusting. One of the biggest things is how they went after doctors. How California went after doctors was insane, what they did. Like, I don't see how doesn't that violate some sort of code between, if it's illegal for a doctor to say to his patient, hey, I don't think you should take this, when he genuinely believes that, how you're getting in between the doctor and the patient.
Exactly. No, it's hard to believe but that law got overturned, I thought. That's true.
Oh, it did? I'm not even sure.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, they overturned it themselves. That's right. And then I believe remember they're trying to put the vaccine on the kids' schedule too.
Oh, it's on there. It's on there. It's not. They're not trying. It's on there. That's what's. Every child 6 months and older is expected to get the shots.
This is insane.
Yeah.
This is sick. That's freaking sick. This is why my best friend pulled his kid out of school. He's like, I don't even got a plan. I'm just pulling my kid out.
And that's my beef with all these people in Congress that have kids. They're not giving their kids, like Vivek, right? He's not giving his kids those shots, but they're on the schedule. So if he's not doing that, he's going against the CDC. So if he is in office and he's not following the CDC recommendations, he's got to answer to everybody for that, right?
I'm 100% with you. You got his attention. Maybe you could at least get him on. Hey, Vivek, can you at least make a statement that it should be pulled off the schedule for kids? Like,
I'm not willing to stop there, though. I feel like if I said, I don't know. I feel like
you're lowering your standards. You're right.
I'm not. Yes, we're not. I'm not giving an inch.
Don't listen to me. You're a freedom fighter, and I love it. It's awesome. I appreciate so much that everything that you're doing. Where can people find you?
Well, Twitter or X is MD Breathe, and then my website is breathemd.org, and then I have a Substack which I call Day 8.
And check out her most recent interview on Dr. Drew. That was a good talk. I really like that talk. And watching Dr. Drew's slow red pilling over the last 4 years has been a wonderful sight to see.
Almost there. He's almost there. But
almost. I grew up, me and my sister used to sit in my dad's car in the driveway and listen to Loveline. Like, I love Dr. Drew.
I forgot about that.
No, I seriously love Dr. Drew. Like, I
admit, like, I was a little bit, because I was in the backstage area when he was talking to Rand Paul.
Forever.
And I was getting riled up because they were talking about the shots for the elderly, and I was like,
he's still stuck on that. He's still stuck on, I think there was some benefit.
Then his voice, he started talking to me, and I just calmed down. I was like, yeah, you do have a very soothing. He's good.
He's such a comforting man. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for coming on. Is there any last words? Anything you want people to know?
Just pressure your politicians. Just hound them. Just keep after them.
Oh, you're the best. All right. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Sorry I didn't get much of a chance to get to the chat, but I'll be back tomorrow night and we'll chat. So thank you, everybody, for joining. Have a wonderful night.